You don't want your kids to be spoiled and you have no idea where to begin. I understand how you feel because I was in the same spot. There's a lot of different roads you could take this down between different parenting approaches, understanding more about child development. But the one we're going to talk about is the one that is probably most uncomfortable, and that's talking about money. To give an outline of what we'll talk about in the video, we're going to talk about 4 main topics. Number 1, our worst fear as parents. Number 2, how we avoid the topic. Number 3, how we get it wrong. And number 4, a framework for how you can approach this with your kids. So what's our worst fear as parents raising kids? I mean, let's be honest, there's probably a lot, but the biggest one is raising spoiled kids. When you think of spoiled kids, there's a reason they're a common trope, and that's because they're really, really, really easy to dislike with zero remorse. Case in point, Dudley from Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy. Exhibit B from Willy Wonka, and I had to look at this up. The girl that wants everything and wants it now, named Veruca Salt. That's a throwback to 90s rock. Maybe the most prominent example of this, of course, King Joffrey from Game of Thrones. And so what are some common approaches with this? I kind of outlined this earlier. One way we do this is we just avoid the topic because it's hard. And we justify this to ourselves because maybe the kids aren't old enough, they won't understand. But it's really because we don't feel comfortable talking about it and we're not sure how. But what we've learned about kids is that as parents, we already know this, they pick up more than we give them credit for. By 6, they're aware of who has which possessions. By 11, they begin to recognize that social class is linked to ambition. By 16, they begin to wonder if it's the economic system that constrains movement between socioeconomic classes. And this is the scary part. If we don't talk to our kids about difficult things, then we cease to become a resource to them for the difficult things in their life. They're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to have a point of view on these things. And so where are they going to go? They're going to go to the internet and they're going to go to their friends, and whatever noise they find, that's what's going to go into their heads. As parents, we should be concerned that whatever they find might not be what we want them to believe. And so how else do we get this wrong? The other way we get this wrong is thinking it's all just about hard work, that we should make them work for every single chore and make them work for every single penny. And while on the surface, this seems really reasonable, there are a few problems with this. Number 1, and every parent will identify with this, chores are part of the family. As a parent, I don't get paid to do the chores. I don't get paid to clean up my kids' toys. It's age specific. You have to take on what you're capable of at whatever age. But it's also just part of being part of a family. You don't have to get paid for everything you do. And so why don't we want this? Well, it's because it's widely understood that linking hard work, linking things, anything really, linking them to extrinsic rewards leads to decreased motivation and a decreased willingness to try. Not ideal for teaching kids how to approach basically anything that will be meaningful in their lives. I know from my experience, the hard things are the best thing, but you have to be able to choose the hard things and to persevere through. And lastly, and this maybe is the biggest one, is that there's a variety of different ways we can teach our kids what hard work means and why it's important. But the only place we can actually teach kids about money, well, is with money. And so it's kind of a category of one. That's why it needs kind of its own special treatment. So let's save hard work for other things. We can teach it in other areas. And so what are we trying to accomplish here? Well, I'll give you my working definition, which is that I want my kids to be capable of managing money without being beholden to it. And so how are we going to do this? Well, first off, we're going to break it into 3 categories: spending, giving, and saving. Spending so kids can learn the difference between wants and needs and the lessons that they'll need to learn to understand that not everything they want is going to be useful, or that they're going to be happy having purchased it. Giving, and the importance of giving back. And of course, saving, because they need to learn that there are a lot of things in life, a lot of big things in life that you need to learn to save for. And so how will we do this? I'm going to term this a designated allowance rather than a general allowance. And so we're going to have in those 3 categories, weekly allowance amounts per category. An example of this would be spending $2 per week, giving $2 per week, and saving $3 per week. And on an annual basis, you would add $1 per category. So an example of that would be, taking the previous example forward, is to move the spending from $2 per week to $3, giving from $2 a week to $3, and lastly, the savings from $3 a week to $4. And so the important caveat around this designated allowance is that it needs to be contextual to both your financial situation and the capability and ages of your kids and their capability of managing money. This isn't something that you want to roll out and then have to roll it back because the number started too high. So put some thought to where you would feel comfortable and then start there. And one additional point, we know that saving is super important, and it's an important thing to be able to create that habit in kids. And so one way we can do that as kids get older and they understand the concept of interest, you can start to pay interest. What that will allow, it will incentivize kids to move money from spending to saving because they'll earn more interest on it. We know saving is super important, and whether it's saving right now or saving for their retirement or saving for other investments, it's an important skill to teach. And so what's the benefit of putting all of this in place? Well, number one, you can start to have meaningful conversations around money, specifically what things cost, the difference between wants and needs, and hopefully they will learn through their own experience the painful learnings of poor impulse purchases, the importance of giving back, and of course the importance of saving. In sum, you'll be establishing healthy money habits, and that's going to be immensely helpful for them moving forward. I would love to hear your comments. Please put them down below. I'd love to read them and respond. If this video was helpful for you, please like and subscribe. I'm told that will help with the algorithm. Lastly, this was my implementation from the book The Opposite of Spoiled by Ron Weber. I'll leave a link below in the description. Lastly, thanks for taking the time. Have a great day.